So good morning guys, this is Grant Davidson here, one of the applications engineers with TMS CADCentre, and thank you for joining our webinar today. So the focus of today's webinar is to deliver a tip a minute for you guys. Now that's not insignificant use it once every 2 year style tips, but real productivity gaining tips that are going to be of benefit every single day. Let's get started. So we'll open here as ever on SolidWorks 2014, and I'll open on a design I've been working on here. So it's a sort of hospital bed design. Now it's going well, but if we take a closer look at it, you'll notice I'm missing the mounting point for my strut. It's connected at one end, but on the other end where it needs to connect to the horizontal beam is not connected. So I'm going to need a new mounting point in there. But due to the rest of the structure being in the way, this is hard to get a proper look at, never mind try and design. So what can we do? Well, if we select both components by holding down our Shift key, right-clicking on our mouse and selecting Isolate, we can remove everything else from the graphics area and let us concentrate on the real important bits. So what now? Do we need to start a new part? Do we need to design it out of context, then bring it in? How are we going to know our sizes are correct and so on? No, we don't need to do any of that. We can do it right in the context of the assembly by going to Insert Components and selecting New Part. Now first, it's going to prompt us to save that part externally. So we'll give it a name of strut mount, and I'll just put it into a convenient folder. Next, notice the little marker next to my mouse cursor there. It's looking for a sketch plane. So we'll go ahead and select the sketch plane, the right sketch plane in this case. Now, ever wish SolidWorks would automatically orientate around the sketch plane that you select? Well, don't worry, because it is just a button click away in our options menu. If I go into my options and to the sketch area, it's the top option here, auto rotate view normal to sketch plane on sketch creation. If we enable that, click OK, let me exit out of the sketch, and I'll go back in and we'll have a look and see if that's changed it. So we'll click on our right plane, open up a new sketch, and voila. It shows us the sketch normal to us. We're put parallel to the sketch, so we can continue on with our design work here. Anyway, back to designing my mounting bracket in the context of our assembly. We'll start by sketching out a profile. Now we could use our standard sketch toolbar to select the appropriate sketch entity, but I would much rather use my gesture wheel as you see on screen at the moment. This provides quick access to the same entities by holding down my right mouse button. Hold it down and move your mouse towards the tool you require. Now we're going to keep this shape quite conceptual for the time being. I'll sketch a circle in, and yeah, we'll just sort of tweak it as we go. Now I want it to be aligned vertically to the center point of the hole in my strut there. Next we're going to get some lines in on this, so let's use our gesture wheel once again, and we'll come off that tangential, and I want to snap to the point on the horizontal beam there. Notice it's not letting me do it though. Now one way I could allow it to do, get it to allow me to do that, is by swapping display state. So if I go into my display state and let's say use hidden lines visible, if I just try that again, I'll take my line tool, I'll come off this at a tangent angle, come up and snap to that line. You'll notice it allows me to snap to the points on the horizontal beam. And we can go ahead and create a nice closed contour shape here. And that's it really, that's the most of our shape there. We just need a little bit of cleanup work. We'll tweak this slightly, make it slightly smaller. And we'll go ahead and trim out the upper half of the circle. No need to take it from the menu bar because it's accessible from our gesture wheel as well. And we'll just use the power trim that out, real easy. And there we go, we've got the 2D entities, and all we need to do is go into our Features tab, and we're going to extrude this out, start creating some 3D from it. Remember, in the context of the assembly. So we'll select just exactly what it is we want to extrude out. We'll apply a size to it. 30 mil should do it in this case, I would think. And we're definitely going to want this one to be about the mid-plane, so it sits central on my strut there. Let's select OK. It's now been added in, all looking well, but clearly we need a clearance cut in the center of that boss. So let's create the shape using the gesture wheel, and as for selecting a cut extrude, well, we're going to use the S shortcut key. Now your S shortcut key is context sensitive too, so if you press it while sketching, it's going to provide sketch tools. Out with the sketch, we'll get features like our cut extrude. So I'll show you that in just a moment here. If, while in the context of a sketch, we press S, we get appropriate sketch tools. If, however, we exit out of the sketch and just try the exact same thing again, press our S key, we get features. So things like extruded accessible, extruded cut, which will be in this case. But yeah, context-sensitive menus. So we're going to go with an extruded cut here. And this cut, I know it needs to be 20, but we'll make it 22. We'll put a little bit of assembly clearance in there. Do it about the mid-plane, and there we go. We are pretty much finished with that. So we've added that part in context. We know it's in the right place. All looking well. All that's left to do is let's swap back to shaded with edges and exit out of our isolate command. And looking great. Stand back and admire your work. So mouse gestures and S shortcut keys, great stuff. That's all brilliant. But if they don't house the commands that you use every day, then they're no good, right? Well, luckily we can edit just about everything about them. If we go to our top file menu and drop down Tools and go to Customize, in here we are able to customize everything about SolidWorks, including our shortcut bars. So toolbars being the first tab here, we can go in here, choose to add any toolbar we want. Shortcut bars refers to the use of the S key. Now remember I said it was context sensitive? Well, what you can do on the right hand side is select the environment that you want to customize the toolbar for. So parts, assemblies, drawing, or sketching. And over on the left hand side, all your tools are arranged very logically in here. They're all in specific areas. Select any you need and add it to the toolbar. Next is the Commands tab. In here, again, we've got all those logical areas. It's all listed great for us. And we can go in, select any area, say Sketch in this case, and say I need to use the Stretch Entities tool a lot. I can grab hold and add it to any toolbar that I see fit. Next one along is our menus. So the ability to make edits to like your File, Edit, and View menus. Next is Keyboard. Add keyboard shortcuts here, or just review what ones you have. Next one is mouse gestures. How do we customize the mouse gestures? Well, you can add them in straight here. Decide if you want 4 or 8. And the last tab will allow you to reset to defaults if that's what you want to do. Time for some more tips here. So a new model. Have you ever completed a design and then that one awkward client or boss requests a fundamental change that could see you having to start the part again? Well, we're not all fortunate enough to have a fully integrated file management system like EPDM that would notify us of these changes, so it is very possible. Say, for instance, we need to change the overall profile shape of this part. What happens if we give it a go with the best intentions and crossed fingers? So here, I'm going to put in a 3-point arc. I'm going to manually go to my smart dimension. I'm going to click on the line, and I'm going to apply a smart dimension to it of 77. Now, if we exit out, hedge your bets. Is this going to work? Is it going to fail? What do you think? Let me click on this and we'll find out. Of course, you've probably been here before. It all fails. It falls to bits. Subsequent features fail. It's a mess. It's not very good at all. Now let me close this down and give you a great tip here as to how we could actually achieve this. So I'll open up the exact same model once again. And this time we're going to do it slightly differently. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to edit the controlling sketch once again, just going to follow the same routine, but this time I'm going to do some things slightly differently, because before I go ahead and apply this arc in, what I'm going to do is go into my options, and I'm going to apply a specific option. If I go to sketch, the one I'm looking for is this one, enable on-screen numerical input on entity creation. Basically allows us to apply dimensions on the fly. Now I'll show you exactly what that is as we go here, but if I sketch a line in, notice it will prompt me for a dimension. I no longer need to apply a smart dimension manually. Great time-saving tip. Of course, when we put our arc in, we can specify it to be 77. We don't need to then go to smart dimension and apply it manually. Now the other tool, back to this design change that I want to show you here, is this one here, replace entity. Now basically this tool allows us to replace this entity, as in our line, so we select the line, with this one. Very simple interface. Select your 3-point arc, click OK, it will replace that entity just as it says in the tin, and when we accept out of that, the big difference for us is it all rebuilds. It just works. Everything, every subsequent feature rebuilds, and it's all looking great. Now, new model, more tips. Let's keep going. Ever become frustrated with poor quality graphics? Well, you're not the only one. Luckily in SolidWorks, we can up this quality very easily. If we go into our options menu and down to performance, right down the bottom of your performance dialog here, you'll find go to image quality. And in here you can use this slider to either turn it up or turn it down. Obviously the higher it goes, the slower the system will respond. But in a simple model like this, it doesn't really matter. Notice there is a little red area. I guess that's marked the danger area. I just tend to put it reasonably high. And as you can see, gives a great graphical preview there, a great show. Much better than we had before. Now, what we're going to do here with our enhanced graphics, going to make it easier, we're going to make some design changes to this part. What I want to do, or our goal I should say, is I want to move the cylindrical boss on the right-hand side tangent with the right-hand edge of the model. So first things first, let's get editing the control in Sketch. So I'll go in and edit, but notice most of the sketch lines in here are already fully defined. So what happens if we add in another? Well, as you probably know, we're going to over-define the sketch, aren't we? But if we click on the notification that tells us we're over-defining the sketch, it's going to start a tool called the Sketch Expert tool, which is able to diagnose and correct the sketch. Now it does this by removing appropriate relations and dimensions, but importantly it lets us, the designers, decide which solution is best. So it still allows you to have full control over your designs. It doesn't take that away from you. It just enables you an easier way to find potential solutions. And there we go. When we exit, again, all subsequent features rebuild, all looking really good. Now on to our last model now we go. Working on a seemingly perfect sketch which just doesn't want to work for any given feature is probably the most frustrating part of CAD. Look at my drawing here, it looks absolutely fine, but it just will not work. If I try and extrude this out, it's just not having it. I don't even get a preview of it, so it certainly won't create the feature, as you can see. Now, luckily in SolidWorks, we do have a tool that can help us tackle situations like this, and that is Check Sketch for Feature. Now, it's a tool which will make sure that any selected sketch meets the requirements of a user-defined feature. Anything impeding the creation of that geometry will be highlighted to me as the user. Now, it's found under the tool menus, Sketch Tools, and Check Sketch for Feature, and it's this small interface here. I can never remember where it is though, so I tend to make use of my search bar here, and I suggest you do the same. It's a great tool. Make sure it's set to commands, and you can just start typing for any command. Check Sketch for Feature in our case. Just click on it, and it will start that feature up for us. Now let's set this up. I'm going to tell it the feature usage I want to use here is a base extrude. When I click on check, what it's going to do is check and see if there's any 2D geometry in my sketch which impedes the creation of it. And as you can see, it's highlighting here, I've got 2 errors. It also assists me by putting the magnifying glass exactly where these errors exist. So in this case here, you can see it's a little bit of extraneous geometry. I can just go ahead and delete that out. And it's an interactive interface. You can choose to refresh your repair sketch dialog there and highlight any other errors that may exist within the sketch. Then, when we exit out, let's do a base extrude and just try that again. And as you can see, all working perfectly fine now. Now let's skip forward to quite a bit later in the design process, and you may notice I'm on the final stage. I'm having a little bit of trouble with filleting. I dare say some of you have been here before. Now if I edit the feature, you can see what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to apply a fillet to the 2 interfaces, but we're not the only ones who can see this scenario taking place. When I exit out of this failing feature, what you'll notice is the fault is going to be highlighted in yellow. This has significant meaning because this means SolidWorks reckons it'll be able to have a shot at repairing the failing feature itself if we click on the Feature Expert tool, accessible right there. So if we click on that one, SolidWorks will have a look at the geometry we're trying to create and it will see if it can fix it. And as you can see, it's added a multitude of fillets there to help me achieve what I was trying to do. Now, let's jump into the drawing environment where I'm documenting this new part. As you can see, I've got some dimensions on there, but I need to mark these as TYP for typical, fairly common thing to do. Now doing so is going to be easy, as I can just type it in, but then what I need to do is add it to a couple other dimensions, and I maybe need to add it to other documents, and I'm feeling particularly lazy this morning. I don't want to have to type it every time. So what I can do is, with my appended text in there, choose to add a style. If I click on Add Style, go ahead and give it a name. We'll just call this one Typical. Just give it an obvious name. Click on OK. That will create the style for us. Optionally, we can go ahead and choose to save it out if we want, using the Save a Style button. But all I'm going to do here is click on another dimension, and if I use the drop-down, I can go ahead and select my newly created Typical dimension. Now we're at 14 minutes here, guys, and still shy of 15 tips, so let me create a quick assembly so I can keep my word to you guys. Now, adding additional components to an assembly, how do you go about it? Now, as we know, there's loads of ways. You can go via Windows Explorer, you can use the Insert Component dialog, you can use, I don't know, the tab on the right-hand side as your SolidWorks File Explorer. But by far the quickest way, and believe it or not, is quite little known, if you hold down your Control key and grab hold of your component from the tree and drag it over into the work area or your graphics area, it will give you an additional instance of that part, as you can see. And additionally, on top of that, even if you hold Control and grab it from the graphics area, you can start to create additional instances. And to finish this up, mating them together, no need for fancy dialogues if speed is key here. Speed is what's needed. Simply hold down your Shift key, select the two corresponding faces, and use the Flyout Mate dialog. As you can see, adding coincident mates here is an absolute breeze. Now that was a new one for 2014, but very, very useful. And there we go, guys, we made it. And by my count, we even overshot by 1 tip. So 16 tips in 15 minutes. Let's recap them quickly and breathe. So what we looked at there was isolating components out right at the beginning. We had a look at in-context part creation. We used the auto-rotate, the sketch plane function. We had a look at the gesture wheel. We used the S shortcut key. We've done a little bit of customization. We had a look at the new replace entity command. We auto-inserted some dimensions. We adjusted the image quality. We used the sketch expert, the search bar, and check sketch for feature. We then had a look at fillet expert. We added some styles into a drawing so we could quickly add appended text on. We then used Control and drag for part addition to an assembly, and to finish us up, we used the 2014 Quick Mates dialog. And there we go. Thank you all very much for your continued support and attendance of our SolidWorks webinars. We really do appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed today's as much as I enjoyed packing it all together for you guys. And I hope to see you all on the next webinar taking place 2 weeks today. Thanks again, guys, and have a great weekend.